We're
Episode,
on.
episode 10. What's up, mofos? Is mofo politically correct? I'm not gonna get
Yeah,
canceled
that's
with
what a introduction there.
mofo. What about FOMO? FOMO. Get it?
Hello, everyone. How about that? Hello, everyone.
I hope our podcast don't get canceled.
Jeez.
This is David and Pam. David of Strong by Lee and Pam of Power by Pam. We are here with episode 10. Structure for this. Yeah, I know. Episode 10. We are in the double digits, baby. Double digits. More money than I got in my bank. More money than I got in my bank account. I'm just kidding.
Scary.
It is scary, right? No, I'm just playing. The structure will be your progress.
Yeah.
Case study. And we're going to talk about keto, then abs. We'll talk about abs. Oh, the hot button topic. Oh, abs.
I have a feeling that the keto thing might take up a really long time, but we'll see. We'll see.
Let's see. Well, we'll play it by feel. We're going to give people a tentative agenda, but it's kind of like school. Just because you have a syllabus doesn't mean we're always going to stick to it.
Yeah. Yes.
What was I going to say? I was going to say something that was not important, which is probably why I forgot about it. Anyways, this is February 11th. This is episode 10. Oh, yeah. I wanted to mention, I had a website, www.strongbylee.com.
You did, yeah.
I did have it. I don't have it anymore because I'm lazy and stupid, and I tried to renew it a little bit too late. So my hosting site decided that they were going to just delete the whole website. So now I have to rebuild it from scratch. You ever been to my website, Pam? Have you been to my website?
I have. Not in a while, but I know I have.
Yeah, and be honest with me, it was okay, right? It was okay. It wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
I built that up from scratch by myself, or almost by myself. I had the help from one of my friends named Tom. You probably remember Tom, don't you? I think you worked out with him before.
Maybe.
He definitely remembers you, because I remember after the session, he's like, wow, that girl's stronger than I am. He goes, she's not only attractive, but she's stronger than me. I was like, she's single.
That's why people don't like to work out with me, because they're just like, damn, what happened?
You're intense. You're definitely strong. Yeah. You pick up the pace, which leads me to say, like, if somebody is interested in working out with somebody who is just no BS, and she will push you, Pam is the perfect workout partner, whether you're working out with her or you're working out because of her. I think she's perfect, motivating, and she's not like me where she tries to be funny but isn't really funny. I'm like a failing comedian.
I just am funny. So that's the difference, is that like I am just naturally funny. I don't have to put in the effort as much.
In other words, you are more appropriate.
Yeah.
You don't try as hard. You don't have antisocial behaviors like I do.
Sometimes. Depends.
Yeah. A lot of times you're the cool girl on the block. Anyways. Yeah, so now I'm starting to rebuild my website, but I'm starting to rebuild it using the website builder that my hosting site has, and it's okay. Yeah, I don't mind. And so that's the big news on my side. You have any news, Pam? I know as a teacher, I think New York State is coming around a bend. I know that they're going to start indoor dining soon. I don't know, what's the teacher situation look like?
Next week I get my second vaccine, which is great. I work in the city, so indoor dining is currently closed in the city. But it is open in certain places in New York, indoor dining. So once I have the second vaccine, then I'll be able to resume a little bit more of a normal life. The biggest thing is being able to go to the gym, and not like I couldn't have done it before, but just to have that extra protection now, especially in the schools. My school in New York City, they are blended learning. So you have some students that are learning 100% remotely at home. You have some students that come in a few days a week and are at home a few days a week. And that's where I am right now with my school, is that I spend half the week in school with my students and half the week online with them at home.
That's so tough.
And I don't know when that will end, honestly. So, but teachers are eligible for the vaccine. The issue is that it's scarce right now, and not everyone is able to get it. And I have been so fortunate that I was able to get an appointment and it didn't get canceled, and it feels good.
I'm hoping everything works out for the best for you in all cases, all around.
Yeah,
all around. From a political standpoint, you know who's leading in the mayoral race right now in New York City?
No.
It's an Asian man.
Oh, yeah.
Andrew Yang is leading the mayoral polls right now.
Well, good for him. Anyways, on to the next.
Yeah.
On to the next thing.
Okay. Jeez, Pam, I like talking about politics, man. Anyways. I can't talk about politics with my wife. I thought I'd try to talk politics with you, but I guess not. Just playing. All right, let's talk about your progress lately. We touched on this a little bit before we went live. Pam is still on a low carb phase, not necessarily keto, low carb, moderate protein, and moderate to highish fat. Yeah, I would say moderate to highish fat. So she tweaked her ratios a little bit. Give us the rundown on how things are going with you right now, Pam.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it a couple weeks ago, and I still feel really good. And as I just said to David before, that I'm going to keep going until I feel otherwise, and then we'll switch it up. And I was saying that I couldn't wait until summer because I have a feeling at that point I'll probably start to do a little bit of carb cycling. Eat some more carbs, because last summer I was crushing it with the carbs. I was eating like over 200 grams of carbs on the days that I cycled, and it was so fun and good.
You know what's crazy though? I'm sorry.
I still lost weight.
Yeah, but you know what's crazy though? I'm sorry for cutting you off. The average American woman consumes over 300 grams of carbs per day. Did you know that?
Yeah, I believe that. I truly do believe that, and I think that people don't eat enough protein and people don't eat enough fat either. And they end up eating a lot of carbs. And because carbs are in a lot of things that people might not even realize. They are in vegetables. They are in fruit. And so even if you're trying to eat healthy, but you're consuming a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, especially depending on which vegetables or which fruits you're consuming, you have nuts and the nut butters that, while they are a source of fat, they still do have some carbs in them. And so I feel like carbs can be sneaky if you're not careful, that they can definitely be sneaky.
Yeah.
And you could eat way more than you're supposed to.
When I work with men, absolutely. When I work with women and I do a nutrition breakdown with them, I've worked with probably over 200 women. Not a single one, aside from, let's say, the women who have some sort of physique or fitness background, a competitor. I've worked with a couple of physique bikini competitors. They knew what's up. But almost every single other woman who I have worked with, I have not seen them eat more than 60 grams of protein per day, which is really, really low. Now, for you women, if you want to know how much protein you should be eating, ideally for general fitness, if you want to lose weight, if you want to lose fat, bare minimum 0.7 grams of protein per body weight. 0.7. That's a really good starting point. So if you weigh 100 pounds, if you weigh 100, let's say 100 pounds for sake of simplicity, even though I'm Asian, I really suck at math. If you're 100 pounds, then that's 70 grams of protein that you're starting off at. So that means a 100-pound woman is supposed to be eating more protein than the average woman who comes to see me. And the average woman is way more than 100 pounds.
So to go off of that, one of my clients right now, I had, instead of, and David, we were talking about this, about the, more motivational approach. Instead of critiquing someone and say, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, it's kind of like a guided learning experience where, the client is kind of the one that makes these, epiphanies and wants to make these changes, as opposed to the coach saying, you need to do this, this, and that. So one of the things that I was having my client do was just every single day, I was having her send me her food log on MyFitnessPal, and specifically I was looking at the macro range. And to go off of what you were saying, her protein intake was about 60 grams. The fat intake was 45 grams, and the carbohydrate intake was in the 200s. And so while that only amounted to about 1,600 calories, you're looking at where these macros are vastly off. And so, yes, there are certainly some truths about calories in versus calories out, but there is also a lot of truth to your macronutrient range. And again, I'm not saying that everyone should be tracking their macros, but, having some sort of awareness of what food you are intaking. And that's why I kind of brought up with the vegetables and the fruit and the nut butters and anything else that has, carbs in them. I feel like carbs are the easiest thing for people to go to, especially if you're a snacker and you want to eat crackers or like whatever it might be. That's going to add carbohydrates into your diet that you might not even honestly be aware of. And so through doing that with my client, she was able to kind of see, oh, wow, I'm eating this little, but also, something like fat gets a bad rep. And when I said, let's try to up your fat, add a tablespoon of olive oil, into, when you're roasting your vegetables for dinner tomorrow. And it's kind of like, oh, are you sure? Because that's going to, bring your fat intake up. But, I feel like people, they don't know. They don't know what a good amount of carbohydrates is to eat for themselves, or a decent amount of protein intake or fat intake nonetheless. And, for people like us, it's very easy for us to adjust our calorie range and our macronutrient ranges to be able to see changes physically for us. But a client or someone that's, just trying to find their footing, they really don't know. So even seeing a number like, oh, I'm eating 200 grams of carbohydrates a day, that might not even mean anything to them, because they don't know. Is that a lot? Is that a little bit? And it depends on how you look at it, because as I mentioned before, over the summer, there were days where I was consuming over 200 grams of carbs and I was still losing weight. But I really knew what I was doing with my macros to be able to have that effect on myself.
Mm-hmm. You had a diet that was geared specifically towards you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the whole thing about individualized one-on-one coaching and getting a nutrition coach to really personalize your diet. Because again, if I gave someone how many calories I'm eating per day right now on my macronutrient range, if someone went and tried that, it's not going to have the same effect on them as it did for me. And especially noting that depending on what time of year it is, A, my goals are different, but B, we've seen the way that fat loss affects me during different times of the year, and the calorie range in which I could be in and the macronutrient ranges that I could be in for my protein, carbs, and fats. And so what works for me, it's not going to necessarily work for someone else. And I also feel like it's trial and error too when you're, working with a client, is that like you guys have to find what works for that person. And that's what's so great about having a coach there, because they could certainly help you out with that.
It's great, but who wants to do trial and error? Don't we want results right now, right fast, right away?
And that was me too.
It's interesting. It's a paradigm shift. What you said resonated, I'm sure will resonate with people a lot. The idea that you need some sort of individualized programming, where I see this mistake a lot, where, bless their hearts, a lot of people will go on Instagram and they'll go on a search. They'll find a girl or a guy who's ripped out the wazoo. Looks like diamond. They cut themselves up with diamonds. They're selling a diet plan for $10. I bought a couple of those diet plans just to see what's up. Those diet plans are super generic, super cookie cutter, chicken breast, broccoli, brown rice. That's what bodybuilders were eating 30, 40 years ago. Now, I will say, if you eat that type of diet, you will absolutely lose weight if you're 99% of a normal, like if you're normal, like 99% of people, and you don't have any metabolic conditions, whatever, you don't have a very deep fitness history of dieting and exercising. If you're just a person who wants to lose weight and you're new to exercise, you follow a Spartan diet like that, you will absolutely lose weight up to a certain point. And you probably felt the firsthand effects of this. When you follow a Spartan diet like that, you will hit a wall sooner than later. When you hit that wall, you might not have the right gear to climb that wall. And that's when I think a more individualized approach where you're breaking you're breaking away from conventional wisdom a little bit more. Because I'm a dietitian, and as a dietitian, we are trained in conventional wisdom. We are supposed to follow government guidelines given by the Food and Drug Administration, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Food Pyramid, My Plate. I learned about all of those things. It's just, for me, when I look at the statistics and I see people getting more heavier, larger, and healthier, I think to myself, man, what is wrong? Is there something wrong with the system? Something wrong with the recommendations? What is going on? And of course, a lot of things are going wrong, but I think the core reason is what you are alluding to. People lack some sort of structure. They lack structure, and they lack support.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I got some decent hits on a Facebook post that I wrote was about earlier today. It ties into what you were talking about, how you don't criticize people, or you try to avoid criticizing people. That approach is called motivational interviewing.
There's a book on that. I really want to read it.
I have the book. See this? Motivational.
Oh, there we go.
Motivational Interviewing in Nutrition and Fitness. I think it's a really good book. I've used this tactic on you before. You've been my guinea pig without you knowing it. Motivational interviewing was created in response to alcoholics and drug addicts. These are, the people who need the most help. People who are just stuck in this amazing, vicious cycle of addiction and self-destruction. Motivational interviewing was designed to help people like this. And I have this post. I want to read it. It says, whenever I read posts from trainers or health professionals asking why people can't change, some common themes I see in the comments that pop up are they don't want it bad enough. They don't know what they want. They're scared. These are some of the common things I see in comments. While I think there's truth to these, there's also another profound idea. Humans are hardwired to be lazy, to conserve energy, and to seek comfort. Modern society, we live in America, allows us to find these things in technology, food, and transportation. Not many people are going to wake up in the morning and scream, I can't wait to go to the gym today. I love going to the gym. Not many people are like that.
Yeah.
Right? Not many people. People who are like that usually end up being personal trainers. Right? But most people are not personal trainers. So put another way, we are generally products of our environment, which is a combo of nature and nurture. There's a blend of both, and our environment can explain why we may not want it bad enough. It sounds weird, right? If you phrase it a certain way, we don't want it bad enough because our environment is sabotaging us. We don't know what we want because our environment is sabotaging us. And we are scared because our environment is sabotaging us. Almost every single person I have ever worked with who has struggled with their health and fitness, they were neck deep in an environment that was self-defeating. They were, you know what I mean?
I mean, I 100% agree with that. And precision nutrition touches upon that. I mean, any type of nutrition or fitness type of article or book or study, even when they talk about environment, they do say even the strongest person put in the wrong environment will have some kind of negative effect on them at some point. You know, I mean, think about us, right? We have a lot of strong will and determination and motivation, but put me in an environment that is completely opposite of what I'm used to. Yes, I'm going to have some willpower to some extent, but if it's day after day, time after time, I'm going to cave at some point.
Just imagine being in a toxic personal relationship and working at a toxic workplace at the same time. Just imagine, Pam. Just imagine.
I'm imagining.
I know it might be difficult for you to imagine that, Pam. You know, just try your hardest to imagine what that might feel like for somebody else. Just imagine how difficult it would be for you to not only be motivated, but to push yourself every single day to work hard in the gym. That's why. Yeah. Do you know what? Yeah. And I think you're hitting the nail right on the head. And I think this is the message that a lot of people need to hear, because most people do not want to look like the next Instagram fitness celebrity. Most people want to become more autonomous. Most people want to not feel like they're being controlled by their desires and their pleasures. They want to know that, hey, look, I want to take care of myself. I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to do my best to eat healthy. And the best way to do that is what you said, is to encourage them, highlight, accentuate the positive efforts that they're making, and not criticize and condemn them for the things that they're not.
Yeah, it's about adding, not taking away. But the only thing that I do personally believe in is maybe you can't make your environment 100% perfect, but you can certainly adjust your environment to some extent, depending on your circumstances. One simple thing could be the food that you have in your household. Yep. That would be an example of adjusting your environment. That if you know that you have a certain food that's a weakness, or you know that there's a certain trigger that you might have that's going to bring on weakness towards food, whether it is you being in a toxic relationship or toxicity at your job, then remove that, the effect of that trigger. So if you have a terrible job that you're coming home and you're stressed out and what you want to do is binge eat, maybe put it upon yourself to remove foods that you would binge on. You know, that's an example of adjusting your environment. So again, it's not going to be perfect, but it certainly could help.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because we believe that is the entry level adjustment you can make to your environment.
Yeah.
That is the simplest, most effective, and most basic way of improving your chances of behavioral change, is just out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
The problem is, if somebody can't even do that, if somebody can't even do that, I think they really need to take inventory on their life and figure out, are they in a situation where they can do something? Some people, despite wanting to change as much as they want to change, just don't have the ability to.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the end of the line for them. They just might need to wait a little bit longer and get off one of different exits.
Mm-hmm.
But if they have the means to, the number one way to shortcut all of those things, if there's nothing about your physical environment that changes, the number one most effective way that can help is external accountability. In other words, coaching.
Yeah.
Coaching. That is the best pattern interrupt. It's the same anywhere else. If somebody wants to get better at their job, they get a mentor. If somebody wants to become more educated, they go to school. They go to a professor. They go to an instructor. If somebody wants to become as healthy as possible, they hire a coach. That's why top athletes have coaches, right? I'm not saying that people who are listening to this are looking to be top athletes, but you look at the people who tend to make things look as effortlessly as possible or find the success that people want. It's usually because they have the support system.
Yeah. You're right. You were right about that.
Yep. So anyways, let's move on to keto, Pam.
Woohoo.
Yeah, no, what do we got about keto? What do we got with keto, bruh?
So this isn't gonna be like a for or bashing thing. I feel like it's very easy to bash it. But it's kind of like we're taking the middle ground. You know, we're kind of unbiased. Basically keto, for those of you that might not know, it's a very low carb, below 50 carbs a day would be considered keto, and then you have a moderate amount of protein that you are consuming each day and a higher amount of fat that you are consuming each day. And so when your body stops burning fuel from carbohydrates, that's when your body starts to burn fuel from protein and from fat. And that's how your body goes into ketosis. It is I would say it's pretty popular now. It's a diet fad, and it's kind of another variation of something like the Atkins diet, which came out years ago, which again was a more high fat, low carb type of diet. People that typically have been recommended to go on it usually have something like diabetes, because it does help to lower your blood sugar. That goes along with your insulin levels. It has been known to help people that have different other diseases, maybe like epilepsy or Alzheimer's even. Though I don't know if there's actually enough research around to really prove that. But yeah, so originally people were going on these diets to lose weight because they needed to improve their cholesterol levels. Maybe they were diabetic. They needed to improve their blood insulin. So that's why people started to do it, and then it caught on, and now it became this huge trend where everyone seems to think that it's like the magic pill of weight loss, and here to say it's certainly not. Actually, I was listening to a short podcast episode. I actually don't even know what the name of the podcast was, but she was talking about different studies that have been done on keto long term. And she was saying that there were pretty much like no studies long term showing the positive effects that keto could have on someone, because the participants in the study couldn't even stick to it for long enough for there to be long-term success, more than like 3-4 months, I think it was, that all of these participants were dropping out because they couldn't even stick to it long term. And so I think that's the basic message from someone who's thinking about going keto, that if your doctor's recommending it, that's totally one thing. If you want a quick fix, maybe you want to try it, but I don't recommend, because I don't think it's a sustainable diet, and I don't think that it's something you could do long term. And, you know, once you put your body into like a true ketosis state, getting out of that and then trying to like cycle back into introducing carbs and you know, a higher amount of protein into your diet just totally will screw with your digestive system and everything. So
what did this woman say in terms of long term? What did she define as long term?
I think longer than several months.
Okay.
That there wasn't any. The whole study was actually about PCOS. Women being told by their doctors were diagnosed with PCOS, that they should be doing the keto diet because keto has been known to, like I said, to improve their insulin levels. And women that have PCOS, that is something that they struggle with, is that they have high insulin, and it becomes very difficult for them because of their hormones, that they put on weight really easily, and they have a very difficult time losing weight. And they also have issues with fertility as well. So there were studies saying that if you adapt to a very low carb diet, essentially keto, that you will see an improvement in your insulin levels and with the hormones. And basically what she was saying is that the evidence was not nearly strong enough, because in the studies that she was looking at, it was basically unconcluded evidence because of the short amount of time that the studies were done in. First, let's say over a matter of weeks. And then when she was trying to look for long-term evidence, that there pretty much was none, because the clients themselves were not able to stick to a keto diet for longer than 3-4 months.
Interesting. I know, again, for me, we're definitely taking a neutral approach to keto. And I don't know who this woman is. I don't know who this woman is. I don't know what she searched with, but
you have evidence.
I would say I would say I am quite acquainted with the ketogenic diet. And there is, I would say I don't think she was searching hard enough.
Probably not.
Not nearly hard enough, because if you go on scholar.google.com and you just type in long-term ketogenic diet, you're going to come up with many studies of at least 2 years in length studying the long-term effects of keto. Some of them on kids, because remember, this was originally developed in the early 20th century as a way to treat epilepsy in children. This was a pediatric diet to treat epilepsy and seizures, because seizures and epilepsy tend to get triggered with high carbohydrate intake, right? High sugar intake. There are studies showing people who follow a very low carbohydrate diet, the ketogenic diet, will have greater weight loss, better blood sugar control than people who don't follow a ketogenic diet. Now, I will say, in her defense, the evidence isn't conclusive. It's not like we're saying, your ketogenic is definitely superior, because she's right. In any diet, it's not just keto. Even the Mediterranean diet, which is considered probably the healthiest overall general diet, people drop out of those types of studies too, right? I would say people tend to drop out of ketogenic diet a little bit more, not because the ketogenic diet in and of itself is difficult to follow, but because it's difficult to follow the ketogenic diet if you live in a modern society like the American society, where there's so many foods containing high amounts of carbohydrates, salt, and sugar. It's really difficult to follow a ketogenic diet and we're going back to this, when your environment isn't conducive to it. Yeah. If we lived in a community where the only thing they fed us was meat and butter, how easy would it be to stick to keto? Because that's all you had.
Yeah.
But if you live in the Bronx or in Harlem, where there's a bodega on every corner and they don't have fresh vegetables, I know fruit's not keto, but fresh vegetables, you can't get good quality meats, the restaurants suck and the bodegas sell stale stuff, then what do you think you're probably going to eat?
Yeah.
And you're poor.
It goes back to environment too.
It goes back to environment. It goes back to environment. So in what we're talking about in terms of keto is as sustainable as the environment that you're in. If all of your friends are on keto, it's really easy to follow keto. If none of your friends are on keto, it's really difficult to follow keto. Right? Yeah. And then there are studies substantiating keto. And there is a doctor, MD, his name is Dale Bredesen. He was one of the first doctors coming out of Duke to popularize the ketogenic diet as a way to treat Alzheimer's, dementia, and cognitive decline. And he uses the ketogenic diet on his patients with very good success. He has a book called The End of Alzheimer's. It's a technical book. I wouldn't say that it's geared towards laymen, but if somebody wants to learn more about keto in terms of how it affects cognitive health, and my thing is, if you eat for cognitive health, you're probably going to eat for weight loss and general fitness too, right? Because cognitive health and high sugar intake are piece and parcel.
Yeah.
There's a positive relation. There's an inverse relationship. The higher sugar intake you have, the worse your cognitive function is going to be later on. And that's strongly supported in the research.
Yeah. You know, and the reason why I had brought up that,
yes. I'm not trying to push back on you. I'm just, you brought this.
Well, because I'm not the one that did the podcast, that woman did. But my point is that she clearly was against it. So I almost feel like if you go looking for something or not go looking for something, you are or are not going to find it. So for her message was to women, if you have PCOS, you don't need to be following a ketogenic diet, because guess what? There's no study that shows that you should be.
Okay.
Now, is there? There could be, because that you're saying, you're like, no, there 100% is. But for what she's advocating for, you know, she's telling her truth. So for you and I, we're neutral on it, right?
I completely overlooked that. That flew over my head. She was probably, like you said, targeting people with PCOS. What's interesting though is in research, a low carbohydrate diet, not necessarily ketogenic diet, a low carbohydrate diet has been shown to be the best treatment modality for PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Right? Because people with polycystic ovarian syndrome have insulin resistance.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So in her defense, now we'll in her defense, and we're going to talk about this just for one more second. Now, the thing with ketogenic, and this affects people, this probably affects people with PCOS and healthy people. A long-term ketogenic diet in some people leads to increased peripheral insulin resistance. Peripheral insulin resistance means your body's ability to get rid of sugar from the bloodstream. Increased peripheral insulin resistance means that your body is going to have a more difficult time getting rid of sugar from the bloodstream. Why? Because use it or lose it. When you have a steady stream of sugar coming in, your body is sensitized to that sugar. It's going to have the mechanisms at the ready to get rid of that sugar. But if you follow a ketogenic diet and you don't have a regular stream of sugar coming in, what's the use of insulin? But the problem with people with PCOS is they have not only, like you said, elevated insulin levels, but also insulin resistance. So the body, before they even go on a ketogenic diet, have a difficult time getting rid of sugar.
Yeah.
So yes, my bad. In her defense, for PCOS, I would say the research contraindicates people with PCOS to be on a ketogenic diet. But a low carbohydrate diet, something along the lines of what you're following, might be more beneficial.
Yeah. And that's kind of my next point, is that, you know, I said it's not sustainable. And what I meant by that was not sustainable for myself.
Yes.
Because I could not follow a extremely low carbohydrate diet, because I just love carbs so much. And I feel like a lot of people feel like that as well. A lot of people really like eating carbs. And so my thing is that if it's good, if it fits your lifestyle, as you were saying, if it fits the environment in which you are in, if it's something that you know that you're going to be able to sustain long term, then go for it. But in my experience, I do know people that have followed the Atkins diet, and I also know people that have followed the ketogenic diet. And, you know, even with the yo-yo dieting that I've done myself, what happens when you fall off a diet? You gain the weight back. And, you know, you and I are, as nutrition coaches, are trying to push this holistic approach to nutrition that, you know, you shouldn't eliminate something from your diet. So, you know, of course, I'm going to say, do what you want and do what's best for you. But in my eyes and for myself, I don't think that it's sustainable. But what I do think is a great alternative approach is to have maybe a lower carbohydrate diet if that is what is going to best fit your health needs, because maybe you do need to have lower blood sugar levels, or maybe your doctor is advising you to do it for some reason, maybe lowering the amount of carbs that you're having each day, as well as the refined carbs. That does not include carbs such as fruits or whole grains or vegetables. That would include the more processed carbs, like don't eat a Pop-Tart, which I love. Not don't eat it, but watch your intake on it.
You bring up a good point though, because if somebody wants to follow a particular diet, like a low carb diet, and they're not seeing the results that they want, what are they probably going to do? They're probably going to make a drastic change when all that's required is adding or subtracting 20 grams of carbohydrates or 25 grams of carbohydrates, which is 100 calories. And that could be all that's required to get the needle moving in the right direction. So I think when we're talking about keto, whatever, trying to figure out what diet works best for you is trial and error. The expertise of a coach would help you ascertain what numbers you start at and then make systematic changes to those.
Yeah.
Yeah, the keto is definitely interesting.
It is. And it's not, again, I feel I would never argue with someone that said that they wanted to do it, but I know people that have done it. I know a few people that have done it, and when they fell off track, they gained it all back. However, though, that is from, as I mentioned before, a lot of diets that people try, including the ones that I've done myself, the ones that don't fit your environment and aren't sustainable for yourself long term. And so I think that if you're looking to do something such as the ketogenic diet, that it's something that I wouldn't recommend to someone unless it came from their doctor or because they did have a certain health need that they needed it addressed, or if it was something that they were truly interested in trying out and we felt like their environment fit that diet.
Right. When it comes to the ketogenic diet, some things I think people should be aware of. A lot of people might get sold early on into the ketogenic diet because they get this huge drop in weight. What people should be mindful of is that huge drop in weight. If you've never done ketogenic diet before, or you've never drastically changed your nutrition, it's a change in water balance. It's a change in water balance because when you eat carbohydrates, usually most people are going to eat more carbohydrates than they're going to use during the day. The body will use carbohydrates for various things. It prefers to use carbohydrates during exercise, but we know most people do not exercise. When we're at rest, our body will get anywhere between 60 to 70% of its energy at rest from fats. The body's not using that much carbohydrates at rest. We're eating 300, 400, 500 grams of carbohydrates, and our body on average burns about 100. Every single day, we're probably entering with a surplus of carbohydrates, and then eventually we max out our body's ability to store carbohydrates, which is usually around 400 grams for the average person. If you're eating 400 grams of carbohydrates per day, it's only going to take you 2 days to max out your carbohydrate storage capacity. But with carbohydrate storage capacity also comes water storage. For every gram of carbohydrate you eat, your body will store around 3 grams of water. Yep, perfect.
I was trying to hold 3 or 4.
Yeah. So theoretically, 100 grams of carbohydrates will lead to 300 extra grams of water, which is 400 grams. 454 grams equals a pound. So if you eat 100 grams of carbohydrates, that's theoretically an extra pound, especially if you drink enough water, that you're going to be adding. If you take all those carbohydrates out, 4 400 grams of carbohydrates, that's going to be, I don't know, that's going to be at least 5 pounds, 6 pounds just from the carbohydrate alone. And then we're also looking at salt. Salt will also retain water. Foods that tend to be high in carbohydrates also tend to be high in salt, especially if somebody is not following a healthy diet. So the average person who, before they go to keto, that followed an unhealthy standard American diet, whatever, they just kind of ate whatever they want, they will probably lose anywhere between 5 to 10 pounds in the first week or two. A lot of weight loss. They get sold really easily, get motivated. Holy crap, the scale is moving. And that's great because people get motivated for different reasons. But if you're going to get motivated, you should know why you're getting motivated. You're getting motivated because you're losing a lot of water. Then over time, after maybe a few weeks, your body adjusts to the water balance and your body's not holding on to that extra sugar, which holds on to the water. You may lose the same amount of weight that you're losing right now, Pam, which is anywhere between half a pound to a pound a week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You literally took the words right out of my mouth. That's you pretty much said it. Yeah, no, it's so true. And I try to explain this to people all the time, that for every gram of carb, there's about 3 to 4 grams of water. And so when people cut out carbs or they go low carb, that automatically, they lose all this water. I mean, even for myself, mid-December was when we adjusted my carbohydrate intake and I lowered the amount of carbs that I was eating. And for the first few weeks, I was losing like 1.5 pounds per week, 1.5 pounds. Yeah, 1.5 pounds. But after a few weeks, it slowed down because all of that water, that bloat that I had was gone. All that water weight was gone. And now it's tapered off to about, I was saying, between 0.4 to 0.8 pounds per week, depending on the week. Because I'm no longer losing water weight. It's now fat. But so that is definitely something to be hyper aware of, that if you are going low carb, that especially in the beginning, like you said, in the first few weeks, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, depending on how much weight you have to lose. And then, you plateau, or you think you're plateauing because, your body's not letting go of that water as easily. But just as fast as it goes away, it could come back on really quick. And I know from experience. So what a great feeling.
Isn't the human body so amazing?
It's like, oh man, I didn't eat for 10 days and now all that water weight is gone. But, now I'm going to go and have a quesadilla. And then it's like, oh my God, I gained 5 pounds back. Which it didn't happen, but, that's just an example.
You're about to go eat a quesadilla? Really?
Nope. I couldn't even tell you the last time I had a quesadilla.
I was about to
say. Not because I can't have it. Like I just like don't really have a desire to have it. There's other things that I would want more, like pizza.
You don't want the quesadilla?
No.
Have you ever seen Napoleon Dynamite?
I have, yeah.
Quesadilla.
I think that came out when I was like in 8th grade, I want to say. Me and my friends were obsessed with it. And
I think so. The first time I watched it, I thought it was the stupidest movie ever. And then I watched it again. I was like, wow, this is so
this is so great. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't even high when I watched it the second time.
It was a dumb movie. But
so dumb.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was keto. We're not going to talk too much about keto. There are obviously a lot more things we could talk about with keto. If you want to know more about keto, hit us up, because keto, like Pam's been alluding to this whole time, it has to be personalized. You can't just go out and cut 50 grams of carbs overnight. You can, but you're going to bear the consequences. And there are definitely consequences to keto. There are consequences to assuming any new diet. But if you want to be aware, if you want to be cognizant of what to expect, then definitely do your research, reach out to us, try to ask us questions about keto so that we could set you up for success.
Yes, I think, when someone doesn't know the direction to head in and something like keto is all over Instagram, all over Facebook, and, people are showing their before and after results, that people might get roped in to doing that. And it might not be best fit for them. But that is the beauty of having a nutrition coach that is there to guide you, to help you create the steps, whether it's doing keto or another type of, diet to best suit your needs and the environment in which you are in. So that's why I would suggest to anyone that needs nutrition advice to get a coach, talk to a coach.
Yep. And then final topic. I think this will be quick because it's pretty straightforward.
There's really nothing to say.
Abs, right? Abs. Man, I'm sure nowadays I don't see them as much. When I first became a personal trainer back in 2011, that was 10 years ago. Man, I've been a personal trainer for 10 years. Wow. It's pretty insane. There were all sorts of articles on how to train to get abs. Do these exercises for six-pack abs. Do a bunch of crunches for six-pack abs. And of course, I think that trend has died down. Not many people believe anymore that if you just do a bunch of abs, that you'll get abs. Despite what I just said, there are still a lot of people who are wasting their time doing ab exercises in hopes of getting abs. I will tell these people, don't stop doing abs just because we're going to talk about you not getting abs just because you're doing abs. There are other benefits to doing ab exercises, but one of them is not directly related to getting abs. I will say this, the number one way to get abs is to reveal them. And the best way to reveal them is to take off
calorie deficit. Take off the fat. Take off the fat. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was like, he's saying everything that I want to say.
That's because we're on the same wavelength, baby. We're on the same wavelength. We're on the same channel. We're on the same everything.
You gotta reveal the abs by taking away the fat that you have on your body. And the way that you do that is by A, being in a calorie deficit, and by B, incorporating a consistent and strong strength training program that does emphasize exercises for your core. Strong core, I feel like, is really where it's at. And I don't mean by doing a plank and by doing crunches, core exercises that build your core are things we've talked about in the past. Push-ups, deadlift, squat, overhead press, bench press, these compound movements that are working multiple muscles in your body. Because for me, you've seen my abs, especially as of more recently, and they're looking pretty good. And so if someone said to me, wow, what do you do to get those abs? Single leg Romanian deadlifts. push-ups. And then, I eat really well. I really don't sit there, hollow holds, but I don't sit there and do crazy ab workout routines. I don't. I focus on, a very strong strength training program that emphasizes your core, and also my diet too. And I also feel like some of it is genetics too, that yes, you're going to have some kind of abs revealed once you get down to a certain body fat percentage, but determining whether you're going to have a 2-pack, a 4-pack, a 6-pack really just also depends on your genetics. I feel like with my genetics that my abs are more cut, that a 4-pack, I don't think I'd ever have a 6-pack, but they're more cut because even at my heaviest, I still had that little, I call them my flabs, my fat abs outline. But as I've continued to lose weight over the years and lose body fat, it becomes more and more defined is really what it is.
Well, you know what the thing with your abs have really deep cuts.
Yeah.
And that is why even when you were heavy, you could see the outline because you had deep cuts. You were alluding to this earlier. The abdominals, the rectus abdominals, the obliques, the transverse abdominis, those are all muscles. In the same way that all of our arms and shoulders and legs are built differently, look differently, our abs are going to look differently too. If you look at bikini and figure competitors, these women who step on stage, and the goal for them is to be smooth. They have low body fat percentage, but they're smooth and their abs aren't super defined despite having low body fat percentage. This is what I was saying earlier. If you do ab exercises, you're doing ab exercises not to reveal your abs, but to shape them.
Mm-hmm.
Just like any other muscle. If you do crunches, you're contracting, you're bending the spine, you're contracting the muscular walls together, and you're tightening up your abs with the hopes of making the individual packs more prominent.
Mm-hmm.
So that when you do lose the fat layer, you're going to see the outline. But it's also very possible for you to not do any ab exercises and for your abs to look really, really smooth because you're not training your abs like their muscle groups.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are also people who hardly train their abs. And I've seen them before. This isn't just conjecture. There are people out there who don't train their abs, but they still see the outline because of genetics.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you do ab exercises, you are doing a couple of things. One, you're trying to shape your abs because they're a muscle group, because they're muscles. And number two, if you do them the right way, the muscle building way, you're going to bulk them up. And that might not be the look some women are going for. Some men or women are going for. If you want a tight, slim waist, you don't want to do too many ab crunching or ab exercises where you're bending your spine. You want to do more. There are different types of ab exercises too, right? You want to do more stability exercises where you're holding a position that engages your abs, such as farmer carries, planks, side planks, things of that nature, where you're not flexing the hips, you're not bringing the knees to your chest, or you're not flexing your spine, things of that nature. That will build up your abs a lot more.
Yep. That's what I do. Also, something that people need to keep in mind is, you mentioned some of the different muscles of the abs. And so something like the rectus abdominis, which is up top, that is longer. And that's usually what people are going to notice first. And so people always say, oh, I had that stubborn belly fat at, the bottom of my stomach. That's your transverse abdominis. And that's a shorter muscle. And so that's also not seen as much. And also for myself, I can't, so it's like the little.
That's the hardest. That's the last place to go for most people. That's the last place
transverse abdominis.
Gosh darn it, that
transverse abdominis, not that rectus abdominis.
I need to transport that transverse abdominis up on out of here.
Yeah. But, to go off of what you were saying, again, that's why I don't really do abs. I do planks, I do hollow holds, I do push-ups. And then again, I do a lot of exercises that emphasize a strong core. And it doesn't include doing a million crunches and Russian twist and all of that stuff.
And that's interesting too, because if we look at your abs, they look like a bunch of tributaries. You know what tributaries are, right?
No.
They're like little rivers and streams that feed into a lake.
I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a diss or not.
It's definitely not a diss. It means that your cuts are deep.
Yeah, I do have really deep, really like prominent cut. I don't even know how like that happened. Like that. Just genetics. I don't.
I think you can make a business out of washing people's clothes on your abs, Pam.
Not there yet. Getting there though. Like by this summer, the abs will be.
You're gonna go to the beach. You're gonna be at the beach. We're gonna catch Pam at the beach on the boardwalk with her shirt off, being 5 cents for every shirt. I'll wash your shirt for 5 cents on my abs.
But again, I'm not gonna do all these crazy ab exercises. I'm just gonna continue to eat in a calorie deficit and continue with my strength training program and lose the body fat at a very slow rate that I could still enjoy my life. Go out with friends, go out to eat. But I'm just mindful and if I have my night where, I enjoy myself, then the next day I just get back on track and it's not a big deal anymore.
And that is really the key of sustainability, where we're finding this, where we're striking the balance between performance, health, and aesthetics.
Yeah.
Where you can still enjoy your social life. You can kind of still eat whatever you want, but you can also achieve satisfactory results in your health and fitness program.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
Pam.
yeah.
Let's wrap it up, bruh.
That is all. So if you would like to find out how you can have that kind of lifestyle, which at one point or another I didn't think was possible for myself, but if you would like to find out how you could have that lifestyle, you certainly most can contact either myself or David, but probably me, because as David said at the beginning, I'm just more naturally funny. It just comes easier for me, even though David's smarter than me. strongbylee.com and pt61889@gmail.com.
No way. You're way more attractive too. That goes a long way.
Yep.
Freaking up like I'm.
You might have been doing this a lot longer and you might know a lot more, but just you wait.
I would listen to you over me any day.
Yeah. Nah. Thanks, David.
All right, peeps. Reach out to
guys.
us if you need any help. Reach out to us. If you need to get up on your dad jokes, reach out to me. If you need to get up on your fitness, reach out to Pam. All right. So we'll see y'all next week.